Very few games have ever been able to truly change someone's life. Very few games are able to truly leave a lasting impact on someone. I myself have not been deeply impacted by many games ever. But there was one game that changed video games for me forever. That game was Red Dead Redemption 2. I remember when my father showed me and my brother the first trailer for Red Dead 2. I remember it was right after dinner, and I remember my father was also very excited for the game. He had actually played the first one, which I myself had no idea even existed. All I saw was this beautiful cowboy game. It was like nothing I had ever seen before. And all it was one trailer, but it looked like a movie. It didn't look like any game I had ever played. And who is this Rockstar Games? It took a solid couple minutes of consideration before I made up my mind. I was going to buy this game. I was going to buy Red Dead Redemption 2. Now up to this point, I had never really bought my own games. I usually got games for Christmas or my birthday. I'd bought Minecraft when I first got my PS4, and I had bought some Madden games, but that was really it. That was really all I played. Minecraft, sports games, Ark, and I believe I was playing some COD games at the time, like everyone's #1 Call of Duty game, Advanced Warfare. But story games, never heard of it. Was it basically just an interactive movie? I didn't fucking know. I was like 10 or something. But soon the Christmas of 2018 had come. I had gotten a bunch of stuff for Christmas, obviously, as one does, including some money. So, me and my dad went to everyone's favorite place to go, GameStop. And there, I would spend my 60 clams and finally own myself Red Dead Redemption 2. Now I want you to try and remember a time before every game was 600 million terabytes. When 100 gigabyte games were fucking insane. At least they were to me, because I had never seen one. I didn't know that was even possible at all. Then I opened Red Dead 2's case and saw 2 discs. 2 fucking discs. Concept that blew my tiny fucking mind. And that destroyed mine only worsened when I saw just how big the damn game was. But nonetheless, we got the download started and left the house for the rest of the day to go do something else. I don't remember what it was. It was something. And it wasn't until later that night that I would finally load up Red Dead 2 for the very first time and see that intro that is now ingrained into my head. The one that you saw at the beginning of the video. I remember that very first cutscene with Arthur and wondering who exactly this guy even was. Which is probably what most other people were thinking, except they were probably thinking, who the hell is this Arthur guy and where the hell is John? Because, you know, they had played the first game. But to me, John didn't even exist in my mind. I played through the first chapter of the game, and slowly but surely learned the game and its mechanics, and was having a good enough time to keep playing. But as I entered chapter 2, I started to get a feeling of boredom. I simply just didn't want to continue playing the game anymore. And so I dropped it for about a month. Like literally a month. I actually checked my achievements for this video, and The achievement for finishing Chapter 1 was in December, and the achievement for completing Chapter 2 was in late January. I literally played it for like maybe not even a week and would not return for it for a whole entire goddamn month. I was a really stupid fucking kid. Luckily, that wouldn't be the end of Red Dead 2 for me. Not even close. Now that I've got a little intro out of the way, my little introduction to Red Dead 2 out of the way, I can now really dive into why I think that this game is Rockstar's magnum opus. Now, many may say that GTA 5 or soon to be GTA 6 is Rockstar's magnum opus, but I beg to differ. The GTA games will always sell more than Red Dead games. I think that is kind of a guarantee. But if you really look at both games, I think it becomes quite apparent which one sits as Rockstar's grandest game. It's Red Dead 2. Now, I've split what I believe makes Red Dead 2 Rockstar's magnum opus into 3 parts. Basically 2. The third one is just kind of a little, basically just an addition to the second part, but still. The world, the story, and the characters. This chapter, I want to discuss the world of Red Dead 2. I have obviously played many games since Red Dead 2, and many open world games since Red Dead 2, but none have even come close to matching the world that Rockstar created for this game. Honestly, I think Elden Ring is the only game that I would say has even reached that same level as Red Dead's map. And I think on many days, I'll still take Red Dead's map as my number 1. There honestly just isn't anything like it. The level of detail is unmatched, and the realism of it all really makes you feel like you're in a real world. You don't feel like you're in a video game. You feel like you're there with Arthur in 1899. And Rockstar does a tremendous job at capturing the real world and placing it into their game. If you're playing Red Dead at any moment, just stop for a second. Unless you're in a mission or something, but just stop. Look around and just take in the nature around you in this game. Watch the animals wander around the prairie and the birds flying through the air and ducking back into the trees. See the other travelers riding next to you as they make their way to town. It all feels so real in a way that many years ago I would have never believed was possible for a video game. I'm sure most people know by now that if you follow around the people in Valentine or really any town, you'll notice that they actually have a daily routine. You see them go to work, you see them take breaks, you see them rest for the night. There was absolutely no reason for Rockstar to add this. Very few people have actually witnessed this in their playthroughs. Nobody would have noticed or honestly cared if this wasn't there. But Rockstar added it anyway. And that right there is why this world is so amazing. Obviously, many things had to be added into Red Dead 2's world. They kind of have to do that. But Rockstar added so many things in there just because they wanted to. And yes, I know that's a very broad term. A lot of things in the game could be put under that category. But I mean the little things. Things nobody would have cared about if they weren't there. The people's daily routines, as I just talked about. The random travelers all across the map, and the random events that you might stumble across while playing. Like someone getting kidnapped or something like that. The fact that the game actually has a pretty realistic electrical system in the game, and it actually makes sense. There's a really cool video talking about that. I'll leave it in the description. It's very cool. And also the fact that the rivers and lakes and the whole water system is actually pretty goddamn realistic. It acts as if it would in real life. And once again, same guy made a pretty cool video about that. I'll also leave that in the description. They're both really cool videos to watch. It's these things that give Red Dead 2 that extra step over every other video game world that I've ever played. It's those small things that take Red Dead 2's world from amazing to masterpiece. But of course, the main appeal of this world isn't just the, frankly, insane level of detail, it's the things found inside this perfectly sculpted world. There are a shit ton of side missions in this game. And while they will show up on your map, they usually won't until you ride decently close to the area of where the actual side mission's at. It's one way of Rockstar rewarding you for actually exploring. Now, you will get an incredible story if you only do the main missions, but I strongly believe that Arthur grows so much more as a character if you also do the side missions. In many of the side missions, you get to see a different side of Arthur, but I'll talk about that in the next chapter. Side missions, however, aren't the only way that Rockstar rewards the player for exploration. There is so much stuff in this game that is simply just never shown or told to the player. If you want to find these random things, then you're going to have to explore. And that's the beauty of it all. You might wander across West Elizabeth looking to go hunt some cougars, and then you'll end up just stumbling across some sort of Native American site in, I believe it's in Tall Trees. I think. Because that's where I would go to hunt cougars for the hunter challenges. And then I just stumbled across this, like, I don't really know what it is, this burial site or whatever it is. And then, boom, I was just there. Nothing told me it was there. It was just there, and it was really interesting to find. And you also get a pretty cool mask out of it. But it's those things. It's fucking amazing. That type of exploration of just stumbling across stuff while doing other things, I fucking love it. And there's so much of this stuff just scattered along the map. So many small abandoned houses and buildings that may lead you to get yourself a new gun or hat or part of a treasure map. And speaking of the treasure maps, the treasure hunts in this game are actually pretty fun. At least I personally had quite a bit of fun actually looking at the maps and trying to figure out just where in the game it was. Like, where the hell did I actually have to go? It was very fun looking at the, the drawing on the map and having to figure out where that was. It wasn't just the game telling me that, hey, the treasure's in this area on the map, go look for it. I had to figure out where on the map that was, go to that area, and then find out where exactly the treasure was in that area. So, while I do agree that Rockstar does do a lot of hand-holding and telling the player what to do when it actually comes to the story and missions, when it comes to the open world, they really just want you to go out and explore, and I fucking love that. They want you to stumble across these random things. Again, most of the things that no one would really care about if it wasn't there. Things like the random rock in New Hanover that has all the names on it. It's just that little thing. You ride past plenty of rocks throughout the entire game, but then you're riding one time and it just catches your eye that that rock looks a little different, and you go to it and there's all these writing on it. And it's just cool. It's so fucking cool because it doesn't need to be there. I wouldn't care if it wasn't there, but the fact that it is there just makes it cool. Makes it fucking awesome. It's that attention to detail that's just so amazing in this game. Another example being the small oil operation in New Hanover as well. That is destroyed when you find it. Which that kind of leads me to the next topic of this. Rockstar's impeccable environmental storytelling when it comes to exploring the world. When you first stumble across this area, you might not think anything of it. I didn't think anything of it. But if you just look a little bit away from that site, you'll see the oil field. And seeing as how the entire place is destroyed, it can be kind of inferred that somebody might have tampered with the now charred corpse's small oil operation. And if you continue to explore and loot the body, you'll find the letter from none other than Leviticus Cornwall Oil Company. which strongly implies that they wanted him to fork over his oil setup or face some consequences. But it seems that we are a little too late to help the guy out. It's these small little details that add so much depth to Red Dead's world. And I really can't stress enough how much depth is in this game. I could ramble on about it and all the little things that are in the world that give it such a masterful level of depth, but I don't want this video to be longer than it already has to be. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about with this world in Red Dead 2. It's the beauty. The beauty of this game is unmatched. To this day, Red Dead 2 still has the best graphics out of any game that I've ever played. Even after 7 years, it still outclasses any game coming out today that I personally have seen. There's been a lot of good looking games, but none of them have came close to Red Dead 2. And again, it all goes back to the level of detail that Rockstar expects from themselves. And like I said earlier, just stop for a second, or just ride a little bit slower, and just look around. Look around at the beauty of the world in this game. There really is nothing else like it in any other video game. The beauty of the sunrises and sunsets, the bright aliveness of the daytime and the quiet calmness of the night, or, depending where you are at night, the eeriness. It's honestly a fantastic contrast that Rockstar makes with different areas of the map, especially during nighttime. If you ride around New Hanover, more specifically let's say the Heartlands during the night, it's calm, it's peaceful, it's a very enjoyable experience. But say you're riding in the Bayou at night, suddenly that calmness disappears, and it leaves behind a feeling of being watched at every second. And you want to know why? Because of that motherfucking environmental storytelling, baby. You've probably come across the dead bodies hanging in the trees, or seen the night folk, or possibly heard stories of them from the residents of LaGrasse. The game doesn't explicitly tell you, hey, there are some fucked up people in this fucking bayou, but if you pay attention and you listen from the people and your surroundings, you notice, yeah, there's something fucked up here. The people in the game fear them, and in turn make you afraid of them. All you want to do is go hunting for some fucking panthers or gators, or try to get to Saint Denis, but the entire time you keep panning the camera around, watching to see if any night folk might be getting ready to attack. Now, everything that I've talked about in this chapter culminates into the masterful world that is Red Dead 2's map. All the little things and even big things that Rockstar decided to add into the world just kept building up until they had a world that was full of things to see and explore. But it wasn't so full that it felt bloated. It gave us enough which left us wanting more, but not too little so as to make us feel that it was an underdeveloped map. Rockstar struck it right down the center. And sure, there are really good maps out there that aren't Red Dead 2's, but there really just aren't any that can ever beat out the richness and beauty of Red Dead Redemption 2's map. It truly is as perfect as one map can get. Plenty has been said about Arthur Morgan. To be quite honest, plenty has been said about most of the main characters from Red Dead 2. But I still really want to try and put into my own words why I think Arthur Morgan is like any other character ever from any other game, or really any other piece of fiction that I have ever consumed. In my own opinion, the growth of Arthur's character is honestly one of the most well done aspects of this game. When we first meet Arthur, I simply saw him as a cowboy. He acted like how I think a cowboy would act. Or, I guess, how an outlaw would act. He isn't really an asshole to everyone, but he certainly isn't the nicest person to everyone. Especially not everyone in camp. From the outside, that is. Even from the very beginning of the game, we can see who Arthur will become at the very end. Just by a little bit, but it's there. Throughout the first chapter, and even after the chapter into chapter 2, Arthur openly talks about his negative feelings towards John, seeming to not care too much that he had been lost up in the mountains.
Your John will be fine. I mean, he may be as dumb as rocks and as dull as rusted iron, but that ain't changing because he got caught in some snowstorm.
In the mission Exit Pursued by a Bruised Ego in chapter 2, Arthur tells Hosea that he still hasn't fully forgiven John for leaving the gang for some time. However, even with all of that, we know that from the end of the game, Arthur saw him as a brother, and I would say he always did, even when he left the gang. And I feel this way because in the mission Enter Pursued by a Memory, while Arthur at first speaks his mind saying that John will be fine and find his way back from the mountain, it takes very little persuading from Hosea and Javier to get Arthur to go find John. He puts up no real rebuttal or argument to not go. And that right there, I believe, is who Arthur truly is at the end, shining through the cracks in all the way in chapter 1. Clearly his life as an outlaw has been rough for him, and the game shows us plenty of times how rough his life is as an outlaw. It's toughened him up, made him much more of a dangerous person. But deep down, there is a good man inside of him, and that good man slowly engulfs who Arthur is as the game progresses. And I believe Rockstar does the progression perfectly. I think one of the best and one of the more obvious examples of Arthur's character development is within the debt collection missions. More specifically, Money Lending and Other Sins 3, all the way in chapter 2. We see Arthur at basically the beginning of the game, I guess early on in the game, as the mission doesn't appear too far into chapter 2, go down to Downs Ranch and beat Mr. Downs senseless. It was obvious that he was incredibly sick, but Arthur didn't care. He even tells Mr. Downs to sell his house or his wife or something, anything that will get him the money. And this is Arthur at his most careless. He cares for what's best for the gang, he cares to get the money to help the gang, whether that be something good or bad, it doesn't matter. And it isn't until much later in the game, all the way in chapter 6, that you can find the Downs family again in the mission Do Not Seek Absolution. And I believe this mission encapsulates the person that Arthur has become. I think the mission in chapter 2 with the Downs does a great job at showing Arthur who he is at the beginning of the game, and Do Not Seek Absolution shows Arthur as who he is at the end of the game. They both do a fantastic job at that, at showing Arthur's character. And if you compare the two, you can really see Arthur's character development throughout the game. It shows Arthur's redemption as a person very well. Or I guess really him trying to reach that redemption. It shows him trying to do his best at fixing his past mistakes. And Rockstar did such a great job here at showing that Arthur truly isn't the person he once was. And while he may not be the best person, he truly is trying to right the wrongs of his past. For the entire mission, Mrs. Downs just wants Arthur to leave her alone. And to be honest, I don't blame her. He did kill her husband, and her life did kind of spiral down because of him. Though I do believe Mr. Downs would have still died even without Arthur, as he did have tuberculosis, but that's besides the point. All she has known of this man is the trouble he has caused for her and her son. And yet at the end, Arthur saved her son from the mines and gave the money. Like a lot of money. But it isn't Arthur seeking forgiveness. He even says that himself. And I think that line there says a lot about Arthur and the character that he has grown into throughout the game. He doesn't need real closure from his past. He doesn't need his past mistakes to forgive him. He knows he can't be forgiven. He knows he isn't a good man. He doesn't need anyone to forgive him because he knows he doesn't deserve it. And yet, even with his limited time left, he still goes out of his way to help people. And not just people he's wronged, but just strangers that need some help. And the best example of that, I would say, is maybe the mission The Widow of Willard's Rest. She was probably going to die up there by herself. She was unsure how to hunt or live out there on her own in the middle of fucking basically nowhere. And yet, with no real incentive to help her, Arthur still goes out of his way to show her the ropes. And we see in the epilogue that she's still living out there and doing quite well for herself. And now, speaking of no real incentive to help her, that leads me to the next point I want to talk about with Arthur's character in this game. I think another thing that Rockstar did very well to help quietly show Arthur's growth as a person is that in early chapters of the game, Arthur of course does many debt collections for Strauss to give money back to the gang, but also seems to always want to know what exactly is in it for him in the game when it comes to doing missions. He's looking for money. It feels like he's doing the things with the stranger missions for money, or for some incentive to gain something because the gang needs money. But as we reach the latter part of the game, we begin to see Arthur help out more people of his own volition. And in many cases actually give money to the people after helping them. And it's these little things that you can kind of miss, I would say, that really add to Arthur's character. And a lot of the things I went over were in side missions. And as I said earlier, you can get a very good story from the main missions, and you can get plenty of character growth from Arthur from just the main missions, but I think you see so much more growth from him if you also do the side missions as well. They just add a lot more depth to him as a character, and they really help show how much he grows as a person throughout the game if you also do the side missions. To this day, Arthur is still my favorite fictional character ever. Not just in video games, but in all fiction. And I'm not great at character analysis or anything. I don't watch that much stuff, so I guess I don't have that much to base it off of. But I can strongly say without a shadow of a doubt, Arthur is my favorite fictional character. The way he grows as a character throughout the game is executed perfectly by Rockstar, and they do a great job at showing the heartbreak and pain that Arthur has to go through. You see it in him. You see, especially in Chapter 6, how much more tired he is. And yes, I know he has tuberculosis, so that's a reason, but he's watched so many of his friends die. A father figure of his die. And his other father figure change into someone that he just doesn't get anymore. And that all combines to make Arthur's death the most heartbreaking thing I have ever witnessed in any video game. And probably one of the saddest experiences I've ever had with any piece of media. It was the first time I had ever cried because of a video game. That entire final sequence, from the time when he's with Sadie and Abigail telling them that he has some unfinished business, all the way up to when Arthur draws his final breath, that right there is the greatest sequence I've ever fucking experienced in any video game ever. It's beautiful. Like, seriously fucking beautiful. Hearing all those voices as they run through Arthur's head, and the fact that that was Arthur's final ride. And while it can be kind of inferred that it's going to be his final ride, I didn't know it was going to be his last one when I first played the game. I was ready to go and stop Dutch and Micah, avenge John, but instead I got absolutely fucking heartbroken. From the time Arthur's horse gets shot and dies to the very end of the chapter, I had tears in my eyes. I was crying through most of it. That final moment that Arthur shares with his horse is seriously fucking amazing. Because that's been your companion for the entire game. They went with you everywhere. And now they're dead. And I never did the bad ending for Arthur. I always went with John, and I always made sure I had high honor for the end of the game. But even though I picked the good ending, sure as hell didn't feel like it. While yes, Arthur dies knowing that John got away and gets to live with his family, and he dies facing the setting sun so he can remember all the good times they had that way, he also gets to see his father figure, the one he looked up to the most out of anyone, betray him and leave him. And that shit fucking devastated me. That shit made it so incredibly sad, even more sad than it already was. I cannot stress enough that Rockstar created an extraordinary character with Arthur Morgan. And honestly, I don't think there will ever be a character as fantastically made as Arthur Morgan. And there are plenty of great main characters out there in so many games, but I really don't think any of them will come close to Arthur Morgan. Rockstar created a character that felt so real and had so much depth to him. Depth that we had to wait and watch slowly unravel as the game went on. A process that they also fucking nailed. I have nothing bad to say about Arthur Morgan. Rockstar hit a fucking grand slam with this character, and in my opinion, is a perfectly written and developed character, and just one more reason why Red Dead 2 is Rockstar's magnum opus. Okay, so this part isn't going to be all that long, mostly because I feel like I'd just be spitting out kind of the same things that I had just been saying earlier, but I do still want to say this one more time. This is the best story of any video game that I've ever played. The writing and the characters and the development of the characters in the story is done so perfectly. I seriously can't get over how fucking amazing and immaculate this story is. I love it. Every little tiny detail, I love it all. Rockstar did an excellent job at getting you in the feels when they wanted you to with this game. In banking the old American art, the deaths of both Hosea and Lenny hit so fucking hard because they're done so well. Especially Lenny's. Everything is going pretty well, and then all of a sudden the Pinkertons have Hosea. And then Hosea's fucking killed. I was fucking flabbergasted when I saw that shit, but the game didn't care. The game had me keep going. I was like, fuck, alright. And then the unexpectedness of Lenny's death makes it hit that much harder. You're just running. It's like you're just running on the rooftop, and then all of a sudden, Lenny's fucking dead. And I believe it's there as well that we get a little bit more of a glimpse into who Dutch is becoming. He simply just keeps running. Only a few of the gang members actually look back at their fucking fellow member who just got shot. And now, I want to jump to more of the end of the game. When I first found out that there was more after Arthur's death, I immediately wondered how the hell the game was actually going to end. And safe to say I was pretty hyped when I found out that we were going after Micah and Dutch. That entire final mission is so goddamn good. And Rockstar really did do a great job at wrapping up the game and making the story of the entire game feel finished. But they also did a really good job at setting it up perfectly to line up with the first game, because again, Red Dead 2 is a prequel to Red Dead 1. I'm gonna be real, I don't think I'm doing the story justice at all, or really anything that I've explained justice. I'm not very good at explaining any of this, or really putting any of this into words, so you're just gonna have to trust me here. This game is amazing, so I highly, highly, highly recommend playing it. It's on sale right now, so please buy it and play it if you haven't. I have played multiple games that I would put as 10 out of 10s. I have played many amazing games throughout my life. Games that have impacted me in multiple ways. I know there will continue to be games that have a real impact on me. And I know there will be more games that I rank as 10 out of 10s. But never will there ever be another game like Red Dead 2. I will never play a game like Red Dead 2 ever again. I really don't think there will ever be a game that I rank higher than Red Dead Redemption 2. If you stuck it out through this entire ramble of mine, then thank you very much. I know this is a little bit longer of a video than they normally are. I really appreciate it. A like and a sub would be pretty sick. I hope to see you in the next one. See you later.